I just want to know kind of the effects of some of these clean fuel policies on the biofuel industry, maybe whether they've encouraged or maybe even hindered production. How have these federal and state renewable fuel policies kind of impacted that production for those motor and aviation fuels?
Perfect. Yeah. So there are basically two big mandates in the US right now. The Renewable Fuel Standard, which is the federal mandate. So it takes all the states in the US, everybody's subject to it. And the Low Carbon Fuel Standard, which started in California and now other states, especially in the West Coast, replicated. But mainly what we're talking here is the RFS, the federal one, and the LCFS in California. Both policies, if you think about them, what they are trying to do is incentivize biofuel production and consumption, or the production of fuels from renewable sources. And the way they work, even though they're not exactly the same mechanism. The way they work is by regulating obligated parties, which you can think of as petroleum refineries, petroleum importers, people who are producing non-renewable fuels like diesel and gasoline mainly, to consume a certain quantity of biofuels that can be directly or indirectly. And I'm going to try to explain a little bit of how it works. So every time a gallon of non-renewable fuel is consumed in the US, so imagine you go to a gas station and you buy gasoline, right? That's a non-renewable fuel being consumed in the US. The producer that sold that fuel to the gas station has an obligation of acquiring biofuels or buying biofuel credits, which are the indirect biofuels. The credits are called RINs in the RFS and LCFS credits in the LCFS. I know a lot of terms, but that's how it goes. So what the mandates make is you can either buy, for you to be compliant with the mandate, you can either buy biofuels directly, like ethanol, like biodiesel, like renewable diesel, or you can buy credits. Those credits are generated when biofuel producers produce biofuels. So I'm a renewable diesel producer, I produce renewable diesel, and now I can sell the renewable diesel or I can sell the credits to you. So if you think about it, by doing so, what these mandates are doing is they are implicitly subsidizing biofuel production. For example, the more the mandates require biofuels consumption or emission reductions, however you want to think about it, either the price of the biofuel will go up because the demand for that fuel is going up, is increasing, or the price of credits will go up because for a refinery to be compliant, it needs to either buy the fuel or buy the credit. This extra this mandated demand generated price increases that function as a subsidy. There are other types of incentives, for example, federal tax credits for the production of clean aviation fuels right now that came out with the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. So they also play an important role in incentivizing the production. So there are some other incentives that are outside of the RFS and LCFS scope, but they also function as subsidies for the production of these biofuels.
How does the research you did on all of this kind of emphasize the importance of needing a coordinated effort to target some of these emission reductions?
Perfect. Yeah. So globally, everybody wants to reduce dependency on fossil fuels. Everybody wants to lower emissions and whatnot. In practice, it's a really tricky process to do that. So what we observed in our research is that these policies have increased global demand for vegetable oil to be used as feedstock for fuel production and also for food use, resulting in more land being converted to vegetable oil crops. In more recent years, that additional land coming in play is coming from countries like Brazil and Indonesia. This land use can have a significant environmental consequences because some of this land conversion can be linked eventually to deforestation, like palm oil in Indonesia is a big problem. But it's really hard to measure all secondary effects generated by these policies. And failing to fully capture the environmental effects of increased land conversion, for example, can lead to an overestimation of overall greenhouse gas emissions reductions associated with the policy. The key thing is that these policies, they are aiming at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and incentivizing more sustainable fuels and fuel sources. However, if the guardrails that the policies implement to guarantee that the fuel being consumed is connected to a reduction in GHG gases and whatnot, if they're insufficient to curb like secondary negative effects, like increased land use in Indonesia, for example, we need more global coordination for the success of it. So we need either the policy to be taking into account more of these things, or countries should be coming together and moving towards that. The interesting thing is that CARB, so the agency overseeing the LCFS, for example, is very aware of this issue, and they're taking very strong measures to look at these secondary effects and curb them and make sure that the policy setting in the correct direction. On their latest staff report, they mention exactly that. They highlight palm oil worries in Indonesia and what actions they are taking to make sure that this policy is not contributing to any of that, which is a very important step that the agency is taking to make sure that we're moving in the right direction.